Tsarnaev will pay with his life for his crimes. Make no mistake, the defendant claimed to be acting on behalf of all Muslims. This was not a religious crime, and it certainly does not reflect true Muslim beliefs. It was a political crime designed to intimidate and to coerce the United States.
United States Attorney for Massachusetts Carmen Ortiz following the death penalty verdict in the Boston Marathon bombing case. Back in May, Dzokhar Tsarnaev was convicted and sentenced to death for his role in the bombing. With Miranda Khan, I'm J.D. Hayworth.
Now his lawyers want a new trial to happen outside of Boston. They claim the trial was tainted by widespread media coverage and publicity.
For more insight, we're pleased to welcome back Boston-based criminal defense attorney Geoffrey G. Nathan, who is Skyping in again. Geoffrey, welcome back to Newsmax Prime. Geoffrey, what is the likeliness that Tsarnaev will get a retrial?
It's very rare. I mean, in this circumstance, what the defense is saying is, look, there was just so much publicity that in and of itself was prejudicial and impacted our ability to have a fair trial. But the courts have ruled broadly that it was a fair trial. And the fact of the matter is he had his trial. He could have taken the stand and said, look, I didn't do this. I wasn't around. I've been framed. He could have done something. So they're just trying to brum the verdict under the rug as a result of their own mistake of not putting him on the stand. It's probably not going to fly, JD. I don't think it's going to happen.
Why now, though?
Well, they only have a certain time period in which they can file these appeals that can be almost rejected on paper, to tell you the truth. They're likely to get an oral argument. I think the appeals court judges that ruled in the favor of the government on the issue of venue have previously said, look, we're not going to flip this even if you come back to us. So they had to do it in a certain time frame, but good luck to them.
Geoffrey, during the original trial, you were very critical of the defense attorneys, but if you were sitting on the bench, in your mind, are there legitimate grounds for a retrial?
Well, I think they're going to get a full panel. The appeals court's going to look at this thing and say they had a very skilled defense team, even though, you remember, I objected to bringing in a California lawyer to try a case here in federal court in Massachusetts, which has our own local rules that lawyer may not be familiar with. Now, she did have death penalty experience. The whole team had federal death penalty experience. So the bottom line is that although I don't like what they did vis-a-vis not putting Tsarnaev on the stand so he could just, blame somebody else or just say I didn't do it. I mean, for heaven's sakes, what's wrong with that? That's what the system's all about. The jurors want to hear from the defendant. There is a saying, JD, that says if you don't talk, you don't walk. And that's what happened in this circumstance. And now he's going to pay for it with his life.
Geoffrey, I want to know if you can kind of explain something a little bit. Tsarnaev's lawyers, the Boston Marathon bombing, they say wasn't a crime of violence. What exactly do they mean by that?
Oh, I don't know why they would say that. I mean, of course it was a crime of violence. That's what they planned to do, and it was a political act to a certain extent, but what they wanted to do, they did. They maimed people, they killed people because they felt like it, and they could. And it's going to happen more in this country. We better well get used to it, because that's what we're up to here.
Geoffrey, we heard about reactions based perhaps not on law but on politics after the jury sentenced Tsarnaev to death. Do you think his lawyers are trying to take the political pulse of the greater Boston area and somehow, some way that plays into this request for a new trial?
Well, of course, remember, they did get the taxpayers to pay for a jury consultant that probably come back and said, look, this is the data that I have. It's not favorable to you. It's showing that people want this defendant convicted. Why don't you try and throw it out to Western Massachusetts? Maybe you'll get a better look at the thing. To politicize a case like this, I mean, I always said that the politicians should throw these types of cases to a military tribunal. There should be an act of Congress, of course you know about that, that should say that these heinous crimes should be tried in a military forum. The Senate tried to do it. There wasn't the political will to do it. Frankly, I think that's part of the problem with our governance. We've got to get it together so that these types of offenses that are tried by a military tribunal and not tying up the entire federal court. Remember, JD, I said that my cases couldn't even get heard, but justice delayed is justice denied. It would have been better if Congress had passed the act that I wanted.
Well, Geoffrey, you'll have to talk to the Massachusetts delegation, or maybe folks watching tonight will weigh in with their particular member of Congress. We thank Geoffrey Nathan for his comments. You may have comments of your own on what he had to say, and we would like you to get in touch with us. Here's the best place to do it: newsmaxtv.com/comments. Now, the cap that Donald Trump has been wearing on the campaign trail and at campaign stops, blazing out his Make America Great Again slogan, well, safe to say it's become a sensation. Now you can get your very own Make America Great Again cap, a $25 value, free with this offer. Just pay shipping and handling. Go to newsmax.com/TrumpCap or call 1-800-933-8396.